Good morning. In this class, I want to briefly reflect on the ways in which the study of sociology can shed light on the subjects you teach, and in particular, the subject of mathematics. Sociology can tell us about some of the reasons why students face challenges in the study of a subject like mathematics, and it can also point to some possible answers. Sociological insights can be integrated into the ways in which we teach maths, and it can help us understand the ways in which people from different backgrounds think in different ways. Scholars such as Van Glassfield have a notion of active cognition, adaptive processes, assimilation, accommodating, reconstructing what they're engaging with, that reminds us of the importance of the value of active processes of learning, whereby students actively construct their own understanding of what they're studying, rather than simply passive absorption of what an adult or a teacher might tell them. This aligns well with sociological perspectives that emphasize the role of social interactions with themselves as active agents and with other adults who are seen as equals that they engage with, rather than those that they simply need to listen to and obey. It also provides insights into the cultural context of students from different backgrounds and the ways in which these different backgrounds shape their learning experience, such as a upper working class or a lower working class or a middle class or an upper class position may bring a different anticipation of the ways in which they should engage with a subject such as mathematics. The concept of individual reorganization, re-representing, reconstructing ideas about maths, coupled with social negotiation with themselves, with peers, with elders, with teachers, helps us understand some of the ways in which students engage with the learning process, and they work through the ways in which they are engaging with a subject like maths. And it helps us understand why some students who've had early experience of success and early favour with teachers and parents progress well, and those who found it difficult to keep up with the fast pace of maths education and had negative experiences, partly also due to their social background, their cultural background, their own personal backgrounds, their own way of engaging with materials, can lead to different outcomes. This reminds us of the importance of cultural sensitivity in what we teach in a subject such as maths, and also the importance of pedagogical strategies, such as designing instructional strategies that encourage active participation, recognition of efforts, a freedom to fail, a freedom to struggle, the promoting of group discussions, peer learning, peer teaching, and facilitating social negotiation and social construction of knowledge, and construction of knowledge through thinking through and using the skills that they have. It reminds us of the importance of collaborative learning and giving time for students to talk through with others and to engage socially with others, because some students are keener on social negotiation than others. And it also fosters an inclusive classroom environment where all students feel comfortable examining a mathematical problem in their own way, in their own pace, their own time, sharing their thoughts with one another, engaging in discussion, having time to reflect, having time to enjoy the learning process. Teachers can benefit from reflective practices where they keep a diary, where they talk with other teachers about their experiences, and they reflect on their own teaching methods, and they adapt and learn ways to improve their teaching engagement. I've found in my experience of teaching maths, I often like to listen to students where their interests are. I like to keep a bank of interesting activities and quizzes and puzzles relating to the subjects such as maths, and I introduce these at different times in the classroom in order to increase interest from students as they come from different backgrounds. These insights also remind us of the importance of recognizing that many adults and children face maths with a sense of unease and anxiety. Partly this has to do with the continued fast pace of learning mathematics and the frequent disconnection of mathematics in a classroom from life events in students' and adults' lives. At the same time, many people have experienced the difficulty in finding relevance and the fun side of maths and even the humour of maths in the classroom. Also, we're reminded that many teachers teach one way of approaching mathematics when there can be many different ways to a maths problem. I'd like to encourage you to take just a few seconds to look at the number of dots and within 3 seconds to write down what's the number of dots you see. Can I get everyone to do that as an exercise who's watching this video? 3 seconds. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. How many dots you see? When I ask you then to reflect on the method that you used, some might say that they see 3 lots of 3 making 9 plus 1 makes 10. Others may go through and count them one by one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Others might say that they've got 3 lots of 2 making 6 plus 2 more, 8 plus 2 more, 10. This reminds us that students will often tackle a maths problem in different ways, and if we give them agency and encourage them to try certain methods and encourage them to have a safe space to fail and try again, then they'll enjoy maths a lot more. It's important to ask students how they approach a problem and to give them agency, to give them freedom to experiment, to give them a sense of authority themselves rather than authority imposed upon them, to give them freedom from public exposure where we don't expose them before others if they're not ready, and particularly we don't expose them when they fail. And also to recognise that not everyone can cope with short timing. Different students may need different amounts of time to engage with a topic in mathematics and finding a solution. Many of us have had this experience where in a subject we face, whether it be in sport or music or some other subject at school, we develop anxiety. Our history, our subconscious, our hurts and our disappointments come to play. Mathematics is more than numbers and problems. It's about life and the life journey and using maths at a time. So whatever way you use for that previous problem, 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 1, or 3 plus 4 plus 3, or whatever approach you used, all of these are suitable methods. I could ask you the question 198 times 4, and those who've done maths before might realise that I could go 200 times 4, and then I could take away 2 times 4, and that would be a quicker way of getting the result. So 200 times 4 gives us 800, take away 8 gives us the answer 792. The point is, we all do maths differently, and this shows the importance of agency and empowerment of each person and student, and the importance of subjectivity, not just objectivity of us saying this is a method to use, but rather subjectivity, freedom and agency of the student to try maths, to show their curiosity, to be able to use many methods and to find a safe space on the journey of discovery and curiosity. Often we teach maths as one method, the teacher, adult, parent prescribed method. Student, you should do it this way. This may be spoon feeding, setting one method as you as a student are expected to repeat this method. So how can we overcome maths anxiety? By recognising agency, by valuing diverse ways of approaching. As parents and students and children face maths with some ease, it's time to listen to the reasons why this unease has developed over time and why students have negative experiences. Marilyn Curtin Phillips states that there are 3 main practices in the maths classroom that cause anxiety. That is imposed authority over creative response and agency. Second, not allowing agency and not listening to the student and their viewpoint. And thirdly, fear of public exposure. And fourthly, timed deadlines, where we impose a reward for those who've already got experience who can complete the question quickly, and we impose penalty and fear of public exposure to those who take more time. This can be overcome when teachers show that they like maths and enjoy it, when they make maths an enjoyable experience, when they show the use of maths in careers and everyday life that shows it has practical application and it applies to the student's own experience, and when they listen to students to find out where their interests are and they adapt instruction to the student's interests, and they establish short-term attainable goals for the students and provide activities where students can be successful. It can be partly overcome by developing insights and skills in mathematics. And for Christians, this can be partly overcome by showing that maths is a gift from God. We can look to maths not just as rules to follow, but part of the beauty of the universe that we live in. We can remind students that they can enjoy the puzzle of seeking to understand the world around them. We can encourage students of the way in which maths can be seen as part of the language of God. That is, you could go to any culture anywhere in the world, you'd still have 2 + 2 = 4, not because these numbers make it work, but because there are patterns in the universe. And as we understand the language of God and the patterns in the universe, we can be sharing this language that helps us understand what's going on. We can also encourage students to think about how they might work out the area of a circle, and to encourage activities where they could come up with different ideas about working out what the area of a circle is. And so we could encourage them, what about ways of chopping up the circle and thinking about reconstructing the circle? And so if we were to chop the circle into different parts and lay them out, we'd see that if the radius of a circle is the distance from the center to the outside, and then the distance around the outside we say is the circumference, and this is approximately 3 or pi or 3.14 times the radius, so it's about 3 times around. You could use a piece of string to show that. So circumference, pi r times radius can help us approach since we've chopped it in half, it needs to be half of this, and so half of 2 pi r radius pi r squared will give us the area of a circle. So using a creative way of seeking to understand, another way is to try and chop the circle up into lots of pieces and lay it out, and then we could add all these different spaces together. We'll get students to think about this, and they could come up with various ways themselves of understanding how we might calculate the area of a circle. We could almost remind students of the beauty that's in the world around us, and this beauty can be seen in the many patterns of the world around us. And mathematical patterns like a painter's or poet's patterns are beautiful. And the chair of maths at Cambridge University, Isaac Barrow, said, "Experimenters do not suspect that maths is inconsistent, but the great author of the universe is given us patterns that show the beauty of the world around us." So seeking to show this beauty in the maths, and reminding students, if you're a Christian, of Bible readings like Psalm 94, the one who fashioned the ear, the one who fashioned the world, the one who fashioned maths around us, gives us the privilege of using these tasks to understand. We can pray a prayer to Father God. You hold the whole creation in your hands, and so as you help us to understand creation, we can celebrate this. And so Christians who've got a strong Christian faith might find that understanding that the maths in the world reflects the maths of the Creator they believe in can help them to see meaning in maths. Or if you believe in the value of the world around us from different perspectives. You could find maths to be very useful in that way. The patterns in the world around us point to something beautiful going on, and many scientists and mathematicians have looked at this beauty as a way of celebrating maths rather than seeing it as something difficult, something that people struggle to understand. Poitras has said we need to redeem maths and see it as meaningful and see it as something to be celebrated. If you were to print out on different computers 2 + 2 = 4, it would still come out the same, not because we're manipulating it, because that's a truth that's written into the universe. So in Calvin and Hobbes, they've said maybe maths isn't a science after all. That is, you've got to accept it in faith. And so therefore that's religion. And of course he goes on to say he's a maths atheist and he doesn't believe there's value in religions like mathematics that you've got to accept on faith. Of course, a lot of things we accept on faith can be seen as incredibly valuable. Man is but a reed, feeble in nature, but he's a thinking reed, says Pascal. And we're able to celebrate the ability to think using God-given capacities such as maths that give us a great deal of time to understand. As an exercise, take time to reflect on the usefulness of mathematics and how an understanding of that usefulness can be very helpful in helping students to celebrate mathematics as something that can be enjoyable, something that can be explored, something that we don't just impose answers upon people, but rather we celebrate with them in the different ways that they can celebrate maths as a God-given experience and celebrate skills that they can apply so that they can see maths as something that is God-given. So I encourage you, give some thought to the ways in which mathematics is something to be celebrated, something that has beauty, something that shouldn't be approached with anxiety, something in which we can use our celebration of creativity to explore rather than something imposed upon us. Gödel, a lifelong student of Leibniz, said that there is a proof. That is, if we keep drawing circles around things, eventually there must be something outside which is bigger that explains not only that all that is good, but all that is loving, all that is caring. And if we understand this as including the personal, we come by very definition of mathematics to have proven that God exists. This is called Gödel's incompleteness theorem, which Christians may find useful, and other peoples from other traditions may also find that their insights in understanding the world around us connect with understanding God who has made this world. Poitras' books, Chance and the Sovereignty of God, argues that even seeking to understand chance can lead us to understand that there's a God who is working behind all things. Another book, Redeeming Mathematics, discusses the observation that what we see in maths is not just numbers, but something about the very language of the universe, which leads us to understand maths as being part of the universe. Another way of understanding the role of maths in society is to realize that many throughout the history of the world, including Leonardo da Vinci and other great thinkers, have pointed to the beauty of the world, pointing to maths, pointing to the one who has given us the world behind us. And so you can look to a pine cone and the spirals, or flowers, or starfish, and you can see maths in all of these beautiful images around us. Plato too wrote about the importance of maths in society and education, and the way in which this beauty points to the existence of something much bigger than ourselves. And this gives a sense of meaning to a subject like mathematics, seeing it as important, not just as adding up numbers, but something that brings meaning to society and meaning to our lives. As mathematicians, we have a privilege of thinking God's thoughts using the language of God, one of the many languages, others being music and emotions and English and literacy. So in understanding maths and the other languages, we understand our Creator and we celebrate and participate in the languages that we have given. So I encourage you, think a bit more about the place of maths in society, and realize that a sociology of maths helps us understand that maths doesn't just have a role in adding some numbers together, has a role in understanding the very languages by which we describe the world around us, and it has different roles in society that are understood differently by different people from different religions, different cultures, different socioeconomic groups who might see maths in different ways. But this doesn't remove the capacity of maths, the language of the universe, to give us great benefits when we understand it and use it well in practical ways to help us address the practical challenges and problems of life. Thank you. I hope you think a bit more deeply about maths and what it means for you next time you study it, teach it, or use it. Thank you.